All right, all right, all right. What is good, chat? We got another Myron and Ryad breakdown. That's his brother's name. About the Iran war. I want to keep everybody up to date on what's happening and what's going on next. And why not keep everybody up to date with the best nigga I know on the subject? So, we're going to watch that, and then we're going to got a Nick. And then after we got Nick talking about him being right about not getting mass deportations. No mass deportations. So we're going to watch that, him talk about that. And we got a chill Friday today. Nothing too crazy. Hope everybody had a good day today. Let's get right into it.
The bitch shaking it, showing it. You this, you that. We laughing at them together. Oh! So stop treating these mother like they mean something.
Let's go to TikTok. All right. Now, of course, like I said, the first video we're going to be watching is Myron and his brother talk about the Iran war dilemma and why we're in a bad spot. Because since we bombed them during peace negotiations, they don't trust us. So we either have to fight these niggas or fight these niggas. Like, it's kind of like, because they're not going to trust another peace deal because we bombed them during the peace deal. So, like I said, it's going to be a hard, Israel put us, what they say, a rock and a hard place. Between a rock and a hard place, that's really literally where Israel put us. So let's see what Myron and Ryad have to say about this dilemma.
As you guys know, we have not had the best relationship with Iran, and this has been going on since what, 1979? And to be honest with you guys, if we really want to go back with the history of Iran, you got to go back to like 1953 with Operation Ajax, where we basically overthrew their government alongside the MI6 and the Mossad and the CIA, which back then, it was the CIA back then. And it was because of their, oil, essentially. They wanted to, they wanted a little bit of autonomy with their own resources. We said no because the Brits haven't had a problem with that. We went in and overthrew Mossadegh, got him jailed, and this led to the Shah taking over, or the Shah's father, if I'm not mistaken, taking over for roughly 20 plus years. This led to the Iranian Revolution of 1979 and the theocracy that we have in power now. And that's who's been in power pretty much the whole time. That style of governance. Obviously, they have a very big issue. Their top ops are, okay, and they've had a problem with this. Oh, got top H here. New book coming out soon. Why Women Deserve Even Less, though, coming very soon. Okay, so anyway, sorry, that was from OSS earlier. So anyway, Iran has been really, well, the entire Muslim world has had a problem with Israel's presence there, but through either coups, wars, assassinations, destabilization efforts by the West, Israel's basically toppled and destroyed every single Muslim/Arab country that stood in its way in the Middle East from being the hegemon in the Middle East. And the only country that's left now at this point, guys, is Iran. Okay, and what Iran has done,
I'm telling you, if you look at all the countries around Israel, look at if we pay them or if we're friendly with them. Like look at, and all of them, they're gonna be friendly, all of them, or we pay them some sort of money to be friendly.
That is a very capable military and a very capable intelligence powerhouse alongside the United States. Is they've done a couple of things to protect themselves, okay? And the things that they did to protect themselves was, number one, create the Axis of Resistance, which essentially funds and supports a bunch of proxy powers in the region, okay, to combat Israel's aggression, okay? They support the Houthis in Yemen. They support Hamas in the Gaza Strip, who's literally right there on the Israeli border. I don't know if you can pull up a map real quick for me, Riyadh, on your side. And they also support the Hezbollah, okay? Hezbollah in Lebanon, who's to the north. So if you guys look at this geographically, which my brother's gonna pull up for you guys right now, basically what Iran has cleverly done is they've created a ring of fire surrounding and also the Bashar al-Assad regime, okay, with Syria in the north, right? So this has created a difficult situation for the Israelis. Next, they have a threshold nuclear state. What does this mean? This means that they have talented scientists that have been, having a civilian nuclear program, but at the same time, they've been working towards enriching uranium to high levels, okay? We've seen it at 60 all the way up to 80%. And by many different standards, the Iranians can absolutely, oh shit, my bad. Let me give you co-host here. I was wondering why it wasn't coming up. Okay, so by many different standards, right? And here is a picture of the Middle East here, guys, right? So we can go ahead and let me go through it one more time. So we have Iran, right, in the center, okay? Then you see to their west is Iraq. Now, it is important to understand that for a very long time, the Iranians and the Iraqis fought, which my brother's gonna go into a little bit of that later on when he gives you guys his monologue. But as of late, since the fall of Saddam Hussein, Iraq has become an ally for the Iranians. There are Iranian-backed proxy groups in Iraq, okay? Yep. Then you have Syria, right, to the west of Iraq, okay? This was run by Bashar al-Assad for a very long time, okay, right there in Damascus. Then you have Lebanon with Beirut, Hezbollah stronghold. And I would argue that Hezbollah has been the strongest proxy group in this acts of resistance against the Israelis. They've fought the Israelis on multiple occasions in the 80s, in 2006, multiple skirmishes in the 2000s, and they've won, actually. They've actually beaten the Israelis on the floor, on the ground, many times. And then you have, obviously, the Gaza Strip down below, where we're all very familiar with where Gaza is now, obviously, after what Israel did with the genocide. And then you got the Houthis all the way down in Yemen, right? Now, the Houthis, right, and they control basically the western side, especially hugging the seaboard area of Yemen. Now, the Houthis are kind of interesting because with them, they're not just a resistance group, they're also pirates, okay? And they basically have been choking financially and have bankrupted one of their ports completely, okay, by boarding ships. And they're like, as my brother calls them, what do you call them, Ryad? You call them cockroaches?
Yeah, they're cockroaches because they just don't die.
Yeah.
And I'll go into that later, how much adversity they faced, yet they still have a very, very strong existence and presence in Yemen today.
Yes. So extremely difficult to deal with, extremely mobile, extremely, they're a competent fighting force. The United States had to have a ceasefire with these. So,
they're very elusive.
So it's very difficult to hit them, right? They're probably, I would say Hezbollah is their strongest, then the Houthis are just like the most difficult to deal with. And these guys have been sending missiles into creating this problem for a very long time. So, So one of Iran's, and it's important that you guys understand this because this is what's going to lead into what we
like I said, if we look at the map right here, Egypt plays nice, we pay them. Jordan plays nice, we pay them. Saudi Arabia plays nice, we pay them. Everybody else that don't play nice, what happened? Fought these guys, fight them. Now we fighting them. Like, that's everybody around these niggas. Guys, I don't know if y'all understand this. This is literally everybody around them besides Turkey.
Talk about next.
And Turkey's
so Iran's
chill.
They have 4 different combat strategies of combating in the West. So number 1 is the proxy groups, acts of resistance, right? Which they fund and back, okay? Because this creates insulation for them, right? And protection from next, their ballistic missile program, which honestly is the centerpiece of these strategies. It's not the nuclear program anymore, it's the ballistic missile program, okay? It is a extremely dangerous and powerful ballistic missile program. Everyone underestimated them, and they proved the world, they really shocked the world in the 12-day war. And we're gonna talk about this in a little bit more detail about why the ballistic missile program has become basically the forefront of negotiations now, okay? The Israelis and the United States really undersold how badly the Israelis were getting up during the 12-day war, but now this has become the centerpiece of negotiations and what they want to talk about the most because it caused the Israelis quite a bit of damage. And quite frankly, the Israeli government was begging for a ceasefire because in a war of attrition, those ballistic missiles were going to level Tel Aviv, and the Iranians were extremely accurate and extremely lethal, and they were able to get around the Israelis' air defense, okay? So their ballistic missile program. So their nuclear program, their ballistic missile program, and they also have a very competent and strong drone program as well. Okay, so drones and ballistic missiles. And then lastly,
They also have 1 million+ men ready to fight on the ground.
yes, they have a lot of people don't know this as well. The IRGC and the Iranian military in general, okay?
IRGC is the Iranian military, and I think I think Trump labeled them as a terrorist group. Oh, God.
Huge fighting force. Huge fighting force. And the other thing you guys got to understand is that Iran's a big country, okay? 90 million people. It's a big country. All right, compared to Israel's what, 9 or 8 million?
Yeah, and they have a ton of landmass, way bigger than Iraq, way bigger than Afghanistan, or similar size almost. But the issue is the terrain is similar. And so one of the biggest issues we had when we were fighting in the Middle East, honestly up until this day, but starting in 2003, we had a really hard time dealing with the terrain. Iran is very mountainous. Actually, you can see in this photo right here, Iran is incredibly mountainous. There's several different biomes that you'll come across in this land and in the Middle East in regards to Iran, Afghanistan, Iraq. And this is an advantage for the home country. This is a home court advantage. These people know their land, and this is precisely what we saw when the U.S. military was intervening in Afghanistan. The past, I know this is kind of abrasive to say, whooped their ass, for lack of a better term. And that's just because they were so much more familiar with their homeland and the terrain, how to deal with it, extreme heat. Tehran is a really interesting position where in some instances of Iran, you have snowy mountains, but then in other areas of Iran, you have desert that's incredibly hot. So that's also adds another element of difficulty for the United States and our military to intervene, especially if we get really deep into the waters of war and get boots on ground, which will result in, unfortunately, hundreds of thousands of casualties.
So just a recap. So Iranians' strengths are this. You got the axis of resistance, okay? You have their ballistic missile program, you have their nuclear program, and then the last thing that they have is the ability to really inflict serious economic damage and or what's also known as asymmetric warfare. The Iranians know they can't beat us in an actual head-on collision war. Okay, we'll just nuke them, they'll get destroyed. It is what it is. It's over, right? But what they can do, and what they've proven actually, which we're going to talk about this as well, is that they can absolutely make it painful for us to fight them. Okay, they can shut down the Strait of Hormuz, which 20 to 30% of the world's oil goes through. They can hit oil refineries. They can hit oil fields. They can really demolish the Gulf. Okay, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, all of our allies are sitting ducks where they're at, and Iran has the capability to hit all of these locations. They can destroy our military base in how do you pronounce it? I can never pronounce it, bro. That area, the base in the Middle East, the biggest Aluyad base. All right, whatever. Can't pronounce it, and I'm tired right now. But they could hit that base, right? They already did a symbolic strike on it last year, right? In June of 2026, or sorry, June 2025.
Just so you know, this is when people refer to the Gulf. I feel like a lot of people don't know exactly what that is. This is the Gulf, so it spans all the way from Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, all these countries here, and they near border Iran. The only thing that separates them is the border between Iraq and Iran, as well as the Persian Gulf here in the Strait of Hormuz, which he was just referring to. This is kind of the Gulf for better understanding. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So those are the four things that's kept Iran alive in these multiple decades. Okay. So again, their ballistic missile program and drone program, which is very sophisticated, one of the best in the world. Okay. They have hypersonic missiles. We don't. Just to remind you guys. Okay. Very advanced. The axis of resistance, which has been weakened significantly. Bashar's gone. Hamas has been dismantled. Hezbollah has been, weakened significantly and hasn't been able to replenish. Their nuclear program, which they've always been a nuclear threshold state, they have the ability to, and they were going to get a nuclear bomb before they were getting hit by us. And then obviously the ability to conduct asymmetric warfare where they're able to not necessarily defeat the United States, but make it where the United States would incur serious casualties and create economic destruction if anything were to happen. Okay, so we talked about Iran. We talked about the history of Iran. We talked about and their top op, the United States. And we also talked about their ability to conduct warfare and their strengths. Let's go into what's been going on over the past few days. So over the past few days, okay, a drone went out to find the aircraft carrier, the Lincoln, okay, which has been out there with an entire armada of ships. We don't got a screen share on this one, Rad. We could go just regular, just us, right? And then we'll get in, and then when you cover your part, you're gonna have it.
Sure.
So this drone, guys, was able to get out there and collect vital information before being shot down by a fighter jet. Now, this drone is domestically made and costs about $20,000. Okay, it was able to get out there, collect information on where the ships were, the aircraft carrier, all of its defenses, etc., before it telegraphed that information back to the Iranians, and they had to scramble a fighter jet to shoot down this drone. Now, here's the problem here: that drone is cheap. They make it domestically, roughly $20,000, maybe if not less. Okay, because that's probably what they sell it to the Russians for. Probably less to make. They had to scramble a fighter jet, which probably cost a bunch of money to scramble it, and then the missile that they used to shoot down that drone probably cost significantly more than that drone. I think you guys see where I'm going here. We're running into the same exact problem that the Israelis ran into when fighting the Iranians. And since the Iranians are fairly resourceful, now and make a lot of their own weaponry, besides a lot of their sophisticated stuff, which we're going to talk about that as well with the Chinese. Okay, they have it, and they're also in their backyard, right? And the United States has a very long supply chain that they have to constantly replenish and take care of and to support and protect. Meanwhile, the Iranians are right there in their backyard. This puts us at a disadvantage. I've told you guys this before. When it comes to warfare, the defending country is always at has a significant advantage over an invading country. Okay, so this drone got shut down, but they were able to go ahead and get the information. Now, this forced the United States to back up. They had to push the entire Armada fleet back a bit. Okay, on top of that, okay, the United States was slated to have talks with the Iranians in Istanbul, Turkey. Okay, and the discussion was supposed to be on three things: their nuclear program, their ballistic missile program, and their support of these proxies in the region. The Iranians said, the only thing that we are open to discuss with you guys is the nuclear program, which they've always used the nuclear program as kind of like a giveaway, right? They've always refined or enriched the uranium to high levels as a negotiation tactic. This is how the JCPOA came to play, by the way, which my brother explained last time, which I really encourage you guys, if you guys have not watched that, I think I have a clip on my channel. My brother explained the JCPOA in detail. Please go check that out. If you're not familiar with it, goes into all the detail, how I actually won Trump his 2016 candidacy, right? So anyway, and then they also said that they wanted to move the meeting location. Where did they want to move it, Ryad? Do you remember?
So it originally was in
Istanbul.
Istanbul.
Where did they want to move it?
In Oman. Muscat, Oman.
Okay. They wanted to move it to Oman. The United States said no to both. They said, we need to talk about your ballistic missile program and your proxy behavior, and we're not going to move to Oman. And the Iranians said no. Now, that was a non-starter for Trump because Trump wanted to deal with the ballistic missile program. He wanted to talk about the ballistic missile program because, and now everything is starting to make sense, by the way, why for a very long time, and I was talking about this with my brother. If you guys remember, back in April of 2024, if I'm not mistaken. Was it 20? Yeah, I think it was April 2024. They bombed the Iranian embassy in Syria, right? And the Iranians did not hit the Israelis hard as I thought they would. I was like, man, these guys are paper tigers. They're talking about, we're gonna promise destruction to the Zionists, blah blah blah. But now I'm starting to see why they didn't do that. If you guys remember, it took Operation Rising Lion, where the Israelis basically did their whole Pearl Harbor type attack, for the Iranians to actually show some teeth and attack the Israelis back. And boy, did they hit those Israelis back. They hit them back very hard. They hit them back so hard that the Israelis had a law at the time. Ben Gvir and all these guys were arresting journalists for reporting damage in and damage in Haifa, damage in Tel Aviv. They absolutely demolished them back, okay? And outside of Western media, which is run by them, by the way, outside of Western media, everywhere else in the world was reporting this. They were taking German journalists and saying, you can't record this, it's national security. Even American journalists, like Fox News, I think there was a guy in front of an ambulance. When the Iranians struck Tel Aviv, they couldn't record it because the Israelis did not want the Iranians and the world to know that they were getting hit back. And the Iron Dome, the David Sling, and the Arrow were failing, okay? Iran showcased some of their ballistic capabilities, and they showcased some of their hypersonic missiles. That, my friends, is why the Israelis are.
And that's why it was so scary, because it wasn't even like it was them going 100%. They was just playing around. They were just showing you, like, this is what we got. This is some of the stuff we got. And them niggas was getting fucked around. So it's like, Israel knew. That's why I'm telling you. Israel knew without us doing something, it wouldn't make Iran chill out. That's why I'm telling you, we just gotta get up from under Israel.
Are terrified and not launching the first attack. And also, I'm starting to realize why the Iranians did not showcase some of their firepower. It invited aggression from the Israelis and the United States. Because now that the United States and the Israelis know what they're capable of and understand how bad these missiles can actually hurt, it has made it where now the Israelis, if you notice, guys, they don't care so much about the nuclear weapons anymore. They care more about the ballistic missile program. And the scariest part is this, guys. The Iranians didn't even use their best shit yet. They did not use their best shit. Their best shit is pointed at the United States resources. It's not pointed at. Those were just the missiles they were able to scramble quickly to attack in retaliation. So now everything makes sense why the Iranians have been so restrained and used such like little firepower, and why they've been so cautious in all of their responses. They understood that by attacking too hard, they show capabilities. When they show capabilities, this invites aggression from the West. So anyway, I'm going to turn it over to my brother. I went over the drone. I went over the talks. We predicted this a couple days ago that they weren't going to be, that nothing was going to happen. I told y'all the first thing they're going to try to do is get rid of their ballistic missile program, which is exactly what keeps them protected in the first place. So Anyway, Ryad, take it away, bro. I know you have a lot that you want to cover, but we covered Iran, we covered the drone, we covered the why the talks fell apart, and we covered the lore. So
Yeah, so no, it's ridiculous what the US is asking of Iran, and we're pretty much asking them to cut their legs off. They're never going to agree to these things, and so a war is unfortunately imminent. I was hopeful that these talks would go somewhere. There's conflicting reports that the talks may not happen or they may happen, but I see here by the Times of reported just actually about an hour ago, and what more of a reliable source than the actual source itself. They
I told you guys we look at Israeli media a lot, bro. We actually do.
Yeah, and it reads here, U.S. President Donald Trump on Wednesday said Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, quote, should be worried, end quote, in the wake of reports that suggest that planned nuclear talks set for the end of the week were unraveling, but the reported concerns over a potential breakdown of negotiations due to Iran's insistence that discussions focus on its nuclear program.
You can share it on screen if you want.
Appear to dissipate later that day. Yeah, here, I can pull it up for you guys.
Yeah, if you want. If it doesn't make sense, then don't pull it up. You're fine.
No, I'm gonna have to screen share for a little while anyway. So here, all right. So here, share. Your stream should be able to see that. Okay. Then my stream should be able to see that as well. Okay.
Yeah, they can see it.
Where was I reading from? But the reported concerns over a potential breakdown of negotiations due to Iran's insistence that the discussions focus on its nuclear program appear to dissipate later in the day, with the parties confirming that talks initially scheduled to be held in Turkey would be moved to Oman. So I think the talks are going to happen on Friday. It's looking hopeful, but in terms of them coming to an agreement, I don't know about all that. But what I can say is if Iran does come to the table, that's a good sign. But like I said in the last stream, it's just a matter of if not when now. But I wanted to turn to some breaking news in Libya. This happened yesterday, and the BBC reported on it as well as several other mainstream sources. Titled here, Libyan prosecutors launch probe into King of Gaddafi's son. If you guys don't know who Muammar Gaddafi is, he was the former leader of Libya. He was a revolutionary leader and very powerful before he was in 2011 by the NTC amidst the Arab Spring. But it reads here, Libyan prosecutors
that the U.S. orchestrated.
Prosecutors say they are investigating the killing of Saif al-Islam Gaddafi, son of the country's longtime leader Muammar Gaddafi. 53-year-old who was once widely seen as his father's heir apparent, which means his successor, was during a direct confrontation with 4 unknown gunmen who broke into his home in the city of Zintan, his office said in a statement. The victim died from wounds by gunfire. Libyan prosecutors said on Wednesday, adding that efforts were underway to identify the gunman. In a different version of events, his sister told Libyan TV that he had died near the country's border with Algeria. Saif al-Islam's lawyer told the AFP news agency a, quote, 4-man commando, end quote, unit carried out an assassination at his home in the city of Zintan, though it was not clear who may have been behind the attack, and I'll get into that. The public prosecutor's office said forensic experts had been dispatched to Zintan in northwest Libya to conduct investigations. Saif al-Islam was long seen as the most influential and feared figure in the country after his father, who ruled Libya, so on and so forth, was killed in 2011. So what we have here, and I'll stay screen sharing just for a moment because there's a couple other articles I want to show you guys, but what we have here is obvious intervention. Now, in terms of the assassination, I'm just speculating. There's no real evidence yet as to who could have been behind this, but if we follow the direction of the wind or we see where the wind is blowing, we can gain a little bit of a better idea. It's really important to understand that this is a direct sign or implication of the war that's imminent in the region. And here, actually, I'll go full screen for you guys. Your stream should be able to see me. Okay, bam. All right. So it's important to understand this is an implication of the war that's imminent. I think one of the reasons why this could have potentially happened is it seems that proxy groups, which I'm about to name, are gearing up to grab as much control in the region before everything turns to turmoil. As Khamenei said in a statement, I think 2 or 3 days ago, this is going to be a regional war, and he's completely right, and it's precise, and I'll tell you why. First things first, the UAE is on an aligned axis with, meaning that they're serving Israel's benefit in their favors in the region. This has been evident with Sudan, this has been evident with Somalia, and now this is evident with Libya. Why? I'll tell you why. One of the leaders in the Middle East, his name is Abdul Hamid Dbeibeh. This guy is supported by the West. He's the current interim prime minister of Libya. He just signed a $20 billion oil deal with 2 major oil companies, one being based out of France and then the other one being based out of the United States. And in signing this pointed a lot of eyes, especially for the UAE, to make a move in the region before this guy catches too much power, because he does not have total control over the country. There's other factions in Libya that have control. Libya is a fractured country just like Yemen, so there's not one totalitarian ruler just yet, although there probably will be in the coming years. And so in doing this, it's evident that the UAE is supporting one of these people. The person that the UAE is supporting is a guy, Gaddafi, guy who was killed. And why was he killed? there's sources coming out from people as reliable as Reuters and other news articles, and his name, and he rules, I believe, in the East. His name is Haftar, Khalifa Haftar. And this guy went as far as to say that he's going to take full control of Libya, and he got a $4 billion weapons deal from Pakistan that no one knows where he got this money from, by the way, you know, hint, hint, potentially Saudi Arabia. And he also wants to take control of the country. So in essence, there's a bunch of different factions supported by different countries try and grab control of the region. The reason why this matters, if you look back, Saudi Arabia and the UAE were in tandem back in 2019. They had parallel interests. They were both fighting Yemen. Now, in this fight in Yemen, the UAE had split off from Saudi Arabia. They were initially supporting the central government in Yemen. Saudi Arabia and Mohammed bin Salman did not want the Houthis, which is the Iranian-backed proxy, to get too close to Saudi Arabian borders. And so he started arming soldiers in Yemen, as well as bombing the hell out of Yemen with weapons that he received from the United States. I think he was the biggest purchaser of weapons in the United States in 2018. He started bombing the hell out of Yemen. UAE backed him here. The UAE slowly but surely pulled away from that military support in the north of Yemen. Why? I wonder why. They have a certain relationship with a certain country that we've said several times here. And so the UAE started supporting rogue militant groups in the south. These rogue militant groups in the south were fighting the Houthis and the government at the same time. So now you've got the Houthis fighting this government in the south, or these governing factions in the south that is supported by the UAE. And at the same time, you've got the central government being supported by Saudi Arabia. Everybody's fighting everybody. This is why Yemen is so fractured. It's a very difficult.
No, all the poor niggas is fighting all the poor niggas. That's what it is. Now, I wish it was everybody fight. I wish them fucking niggas who had all the money was getting behind the gun and shoot. That's what makes me so mad about all this shit, is that it is not these niggas. The niggas that are rallying you up and getting you ready to fight and some shit are not the niggas fighting with you. They are going to tell you niggas to go fight some shit, and you're gonna go die. And then you're going to realize 10 years going to come out, oh, this was an Israeli operation. Like, this shit is so, that's why I feel so bad for my niggas in the military, because it's like, bro, the shit that y'all got to do, man, shit, bro. I wish this shit was right.
War or situation to understand, and it's confused a lot of people, but there's several different proxy wars going on. This did one.
Niggas about to get sent to Iran to fight a regime change for Israel. Iran not fucking with us. Iran not mad at us. Iran not trying to kill us. Iran don't hate us. But we about to jump over there and risk American lives for Israel. Is fucking sick.
Thing though, this actually, and this was the mistake of it, this eased tensions for the Houthis, because the Houthis went back, looked at the bigger picture and said, well, wait, Saudi Arabia and the UAE are fighting on our land right now. That's why the Houthis have been able to strategically survive despite all of the international tension to remove them from power and remove their military assets, because they're infighting in Yemen by the UAE and Saudi Arabia, which is really, by the way, Arab nations had lined up. They could have destroyed the Houthis a long time ago, because they're fighting for regional influence via a proxy war. Iran is able to capitalize, which is why the Houthis are so strong. So fast forward in 2024, 2025, UAE and Saudi Arabia have economic tensions, they have disagreements, and they eventually completely branch off. The entire world sees now, it's a public spectacle, that these countries are no longer aligned. Matter of fact, they're opposing each other indirectly via proxies. It's more of a shadow war and an economic war than a physical one. Regardless, what we see today is the UAE is fighting for control in North Africa. So that's going to be Sudan. We saw what happened in the capital of Sudan with Khartoum. They completely destroyed it and leveled it to the ground almost, and they're kind of getting back on their feet, and that'll be relevant in a moment. And they also destroyed neighboring villages, Al-Fashid in the south. Why? Saudi Arabia and the UAE are fighting for this influence for a reason. It's not just to be the big bad Arab of the Middle East. It's more so because oil is no longer the hottest commodity anymore.
Gold.
It's losing traction quickly. The world is moving away from oil and exponentially losing value. Probably in the next 10 years, it's not going to be of any value anymore. If so, it won't be recognizable or reputable. And so Saudi Arabia is trying to move in a different direction, where they capitalize financially off of their tourism as well as their regional influence. The UAE, same thing. Here's the caveat.
UAE's ahead of them significantly.
Yep, but here's the caveat with Saudi Arabia. They're still the custodians of the two holy mosques, and although that doesn't bring in a lot of money, it still brings in enough to keep them afloat, as well as give them respect from the entire region. Those two mosques are respected by the entire Muslim world, Sunni or Shia. So Saudi Arabia has that guarantor of security regardless, whereas the UAE doesn't. So the UAE has been a lot more extreme in their proxy war, being in Sudan, and now they're getting involved in Libya. That's why it's pretty obvious that they were supporting a leader in Libya who was So it seems
And
like
one other thing I'll say too, just to add more credence to what you're saying, why do you guys think they took over Gaza? What have I been telling you guys forever? That Gaza was going to become a beach resort, international city. They already showed, who was it? Jared Kushner, right? Literally, we're showing off like plans of what they plan to do with the Gaza Strip. They're going to turn it into another Dubai. Dubai set the standard where it's like, okay, we can now make the Middle East profitable off of tourism. And the Saudi Arabia, who's been competing with the UAE, of who has more money and influence in the region from a tourist perspective, is like, you know what? We need to move forward. We got to get out of our old, super strict Orthodox Islam mindset. And we got to, why do you think they legalize alcohol? They let drive, okay? They're allowing nightclubs to open up. Like, this has all been happening over the past, 10 years, all this has happened, right, Ryad? And in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia understands that the new frontier, you can't rely on oil forever. As electric vehicles and everything else like that starts to become more popular, you need to find other ways to make money. And Saudi Arabia is catching on that tourism is going to be the way, and they're trying to keep up with the UAE. Now, the other thing that is exactly why they're trying to take Gaza, because Israel's like, we want some of that money too, and so does the United States. So we could do it better than these. We don't have religious restrictions on us. We can absolutely take the market from these guys. So go ahead, keep going, bro. I just had to add that in there with Gaza as well. That's the new frontier in the Middle East, guys. Is going to be tourism, gambling, booze, and Western like a Las Vegas type effect in the Middle East. That's what they're trying to get to.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's very important to mention. A lot of Muslim Arabs will always make the argument that Western intervention destabilized the Middle East, which for the most part is absolutely true. But you do have to kind of point the finger at ourselves here. There does seem to be some infighting in the Middle East regarding control and influence, and that's because these guys are running out of natural resources that have kept them so delightfully paid for the last 20 years now. I mean, if you look at Dubai and the Gulf in general, from the 80s to 2005, even the changes, there's no word for it.
It's drastic.
From desert and camel and tents to a skyscraper in the world. So it's ridiculous. But the reason why this is all kind of relevant here to the Iran situation, and I can tie it together, is because it seems that the region is trying its best to stabilize, and UAE is losing influence. So the UAE kind of lost here in Libya because Gaddafi was the guy that the UAE was banking on to take control. They had their interest in him, and they were funding him. Him being undermined and some people may point to it being Saudi Arabia. It's too vague now. I don't like to be conspiracy theorists. And so we need more evidence before I can even make that conclusion. But it's obvious that the guy was undermined and there were financial motivations behind it. Who knows what was behind it? But, one can make the inference that it was Saudi Arabia. Regardless, if this war takes place and it happens, let's say in the next 2 days or 3 days, what we will see is probably a continued escalation of different assassinations across the Middle East potentially, and even more tensions arising in this region. Why? Saudi Arabia and the UAE and these other countries that are kind of shadowy like Turkey and Qatar that get involved, but they don't put their name behind it, or at least it's not as obvious. Their proxy groups and their funding is going to cease because they're going to have to stabilize on the ground in their countries and put money into national security, because Iran is probably going to go crazy and attack any country that poses a slightest threat to them. What this will do is open up the region. So Sudan may see a big difference. Libya is going to see a huge difference, and Yemen, the biggest one, is going to see a very large difference. Why? Saudi Arabia is going to pull its funding probably from the core central government in Yemen, and the Houthis are probably going to lose a little bit of support from Iran as well, because they're going to be busy fighting in the United States. And so you're going to see a really big turnout of civil war, civil unrest in Yemen. And the problem here is this Iranian-US conflict is going to further destabilize the Middle East, not even because these countries are going to get involved, because the small amount of effort that's been put into stabilizing these countries via proxies, via other resources and efforts, are now all going to be directed towards in Iran. And what little headway or little steam or momentum that we had going towards repairing the Middle East, like these countries like Sudan, like Libya, and all across really the entire Middle East, is going to be all for nothing. And the main focus is going to be this huge war between two somewhat nuclear powers, being the nuclear power and Iran being everything but that, and they're almost at a nuclear weapon. So that's really important to understand. If war breaks out with Iran, everything in the Middle East reprioritizes overnight. Saudi Arabia gets pulled into deeper U.S. security stack. United Arab Emirates pulled deeper into the security stack with the U.S. and because they have an access and a security contract, and proxies like Hezbollah and the Houthis lighten up in Yemen, Lebanon, and the Red Sea. So Saudi pulls back from these proxy wars while the UAE loses its protection umbrella. That opens space for Saudi to replace Emirati influence in places like Sudan, Somalia, and Libya. Meanwhile, even Turkey may exploit some of this opening and expand its footprint too. So the bottom line here is this: an Iran war forces Saudi into statesman mode, and the UAE goes kind of into bunker mode. So this is going to hurt the United Arab Emirates, and this is going to help Saudi Arabia. But there's also also a con for Saudi Arabia. It's going to really hurt their tourism, which is pushing very hard. Mohammed bin Salman being the one who proposed the Vision 2030 that he had to push back, in this whole futuristic city, the line, and this whole thing like that. That's going to get pushed back as well. So this war has catastrophic shockwave effect across the entire Middle East, and that's going to directly affect the United States, because we have to make sure that we're still capitalizing from a capitalistic perspective in the Middle East, making our money, getting our deals with Saudi Arabia, which has been weakening over time, and making sure that we can be the main beneficiary and have strong relationships with these countries that have geostrategic positions in places like the Strait of Hormuz and so on and so forth. So this is just, again, kind of the same redundant message, but a very certain small country in the Middle East is pulling us into an issue that a lot of Americans
Literally
are
what
going
I
to
just
feel.
said.
Oil prices are going to be very volatile. The economy is going to be very volatile. This war is definitely going to affect people in the United States, not largely, but there will be some tangible difference for sure, especially over a long period of time, because this is going to be, I love the way certain people frame this. They call this these forever wars. I heard Nick say that, and I thought it's a really good way of putting it. We're probably going to be at war with Iran for, over a year at least. This is not going to be a situation in Venezuela where we go in and take Maduro out. By the way, we had assets in Maduro's regime, no doubt. That's how we were able to seamlessly take him out overnight. Whereas in Iran, not going to be the case. We're going to have lots of boots on ground. We're going to have to deal with that difficult terrain that I went over earlier. And on top of that, they have an insane ballistic missile program, supersonic missiles that will absolutely penetrate our defense systems, in our biggest base being in Qatar. I think it's called the Udayyid. And then
Yeah, there you go.
Is that what you were talking about earlier?
That's what I was talking about earlier. Yeah. I can never pronounce it.
Yeah, the Udayyid, and then these other large military bases and assets in the Middle East, they're also going to be under a lot of pressure. What does this mean in turn? A lot of U.S. service members potentially lose their lives. Ridiculous. Absolutely not worth it. But unfortunately,
Because Iran poses, just so you guys understand, they pose zero threat to United States, okay? They only pose a threat to the Israelis, which is why we're, projecting all this military might on them and trying to force them to the table. There's a reason.
I'm telling you guys, like Myron said, there is no threat that Iran proposes really to that's why I was like, I don't really care if they have nukes, because everybody else, all the other Middle East countries have nukes. So why would I care if Iran has nukes? They're just going to use them to defend themselves like every other country does, because we already have nukes. So it's like, only people who care about them having nukes is Israel, and we are Israel's bitch. So that's pretty simple. I appreciate Myron and Ryad breaking that down for us, talking about that and what they found out through the talks, and how Iran is definitely not going for none of that shit. None of that ballistic shit. Iran is not going for none of that, because like Ryad, like Ryad said, it's like cutting your legs off. They're basically saying, hey, open your ass, let me spit in it, let me spread your ass open, and let me dig up all in your ass. It's basically what the U.S. is asking Iran to do, and that's never a good idea. So why the fuck would we expect that to go through? Also, we bombed. That's what I'm saying. Like, guys, there is no get negotiating out your damn brain. There is no negotiating, okay? Negotiations are over, all right? Get negotiating out your damn head. There will be no more negotiations, okay? I promise. Iran is not going for that no more. All right, now let's hear Nick talk about these mass deportations that we're not getting, because our fucking president likes fucking diverting or subverting, fucking multicultural. Ran by the
And man, oh man, this is just crazy stuff. Our featured story, we're talking all about the total capitulation by the Trump administration on immigration. And I don't even really know how to start this one, because I feel like I've been saying the same exact thing for 2 years, and I literally have. If you've been watching the show for 2 years, you know exactly what I'm going to say. I've been saying it every day for 2 years, which is that You're not getting mass deportations. You are never going to get mass deportations. You
And
never will
will
get
get
mass
mass
deportations.
deportations.
And I told you exactly why, and I told you exactly how that was going to play out. And now we're just watching it unfold in real time. So as you know, at the end of 2025, the Trump administration sent ICE and the National Guard into Minneapolis. And they have been doing this. They have been deploying a lot of immigration resources to cities. You had Midway Blitz in Chicago. You had Operation in LA before that. And so this was supposed to be another deployment of ICE and the National Guard, which has been escalating. There's been an increasing amount of tension, and it's become very contentious and very violent. We saw that with the LA riots in June of last year. We saw that with some of the resistance in Chicago in the fall and early in the winter of last year. And so ICE and National Guard go up to Minneapolis, and they're encountering this stiff resistance from local organizers, big protests. And it looks like a coordinated cell of progressive activists that are doxing and stalking and intimidating ICE agents who are trying to arrest people. And as you know, this culminated in the death of Renee Good and then Alex Preddy. And there were all these calls then from activists and protesters and the municipal and state government and national figures, cultural figures, to back off, to get ICE to have some accountability, for there to be new restrictions and stuff like that to be implemented. And I remember this conversation in January. There were so many people on the internet telling us that Trump was not backing down. It was very obvious how that was all playing out. We all sort of knew basically the moment that Renee Good got shot, where all of this was headed, which is to say that she's going to get shot. The media is literally going to cry bloody murder. They're going to do wall-to-wall coverage. You're going to get the propaganda that ICE are like the Nazis, that ICE is gunning down citizens in the streets. And what is that going to do? It is going to embolden and encourage the agitators. So you were going to get protesters and an autonomous zone and all that other stuff. And knowing the Trump administration, he was going to back down for the very simple reason that we are in a midterm election year. So Trump can't afford for the bottom to fall out with his popularity, because they only have a few seats in the House that give them the majority. Historically, they're going to lose seats. They really need all the help they can get. So you knew that Trump was not going to stick it out. Like, so much of this was predictable the second that Renee Good got shot. And I remember in January, all of the Trump supporters on Twitter were reassuring us, no, that's not happening. It's actually intensifying. Actually, Trump is a genius.
Hold up. He said, actually, Trump is a genius. Hold up, y'all. I was looking for a... I'm looking for a certain story that Nick was talking about.
Well, what you find is that Orthodox people are in contradiction with the gospel, and then they can't handle that. There is one argument that defeats any Orthodox person, which is the key. Peter is given the key. No one else is given the key.
Oh, wait, I thought it was keys plural. So is it one key or is it key? Keys, right? In Matthew 16, when Jesus says, I will give to you the key, whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loose in heaven. In Roman Catholic theology itself, this refers to three things, right? When we talk about their doctrine.
Let me tell y'all something about Arabs. You guys are never gonna be able to divide me and be like, oh, your brother's better than you, me get jealous. That's a bitch ass nigga trait. I hope my brother gets better than me.
Okay, no. I swear we just saw that. Okay. Um, we watched that. I'm trying to think.
Well, we're not going to deport all the workers, actually. Illegal immigrants from job sites, farms, hospitality.
Because I really don't feel like talking about deportations today. Because like that's so boring. Trump withdrew from Minneapolis. I expected that. I expected them to. Why wouldn't they? They be scared. You know, they just gotta act like they're gonna do something and they never do it. Cause you know why? Why would they want to withdraw? Why would they want to scare the illegal immigrants from being here? Why would they? Yeah, we'll watch it. This won't be a long one because I don't really feel like talking about this weak ass deportation shit.
Restaurants.
And when I mean weak ass, I'm talking about like it's like so obvious it's annoying. Like this shit is so obvious it's annoying. It actually frustrates me how we have to actually tell people that illegal immigrants cannot stay here and they have to go home. Oh my God. Why is that so hard for people to understand?
Construction. He said, and the radical right won't be happy about it, but they'll be okay with it. The signs were there. This is always how it goes. Deportations on day one. I meant day two. Day two, 300 arrests. Whoa, hey, we're getting them up. They never go up. Well, we just need the money. Here's the money. Oh, well, we're not going to deport all the workers, actually. Okay? So then you move on, and you see what is happening in these cities. Trump is deploying ICE to Los Angeles and National Guard. Trump is deploying ICE to Chicago with National Guard. And what is happening in the summer and fall in these cities? It's a war. Because even though ICE is not arresting a lot of people, how are they doing it? They're doing it in a highly visible and provocative way. What do I mean by this? You have like 100 ICE agents performing a raid on one apartment building, and they make a dozen arrests. So you got hundreds of agents. They bring in helicopters. They come in with tactical vests like a SWAT team. And they get 12 people. Then they post a hype edit about it on TikTok. And they're posting hype edits on TikTok all summer with Theo Von, with Sabrina Carpenter. And they're really like challenging people to have a problem with this. They're daring people to be offended. They're showing you these images of illegals being thrown out, and they're sort of daring you to be sympathetic. And that, in fairness, they are making mistakes. They're undisciplined. They're going up to people and asking them, hey, are you a citizen? They're getting a little handsy, pushing and shoving people. It's not a great look. And so they're going into LA and they're going into Chicago, and you start to have this asymmetry of results and perception. In the minds of the public and the media, this is an extremely aggressive deportation policy. In their minds, this is like an Orwellian, dystopian, totalitarian takeover. Families are...
But the only reason people feel like that is because we've never done it before. So that's why. Yeah, we've never done mass deportations like we were claiming we're gonna do. So that's why everybody's like, "Oh my God, my cousin, I'm scared." Yes, you need to be scared, nigga. Been here too long with that no paper shit. All right, we're tired of that funky ass shit. Okay.
Are being kidnapped. It's like the Hunger Games. This is like the Capitol. It's like Gestapo all over again. In reality, very few people are even being arrested. Now, why is the Trump administration deliberately creating this perception? It's because they really have no intention of doing mass deportations. They both lack the competence to actually see it through, and also they lack the will. They don't really want to do it. Because to actually deport millions of people, you're going to hurt the bottom line of Wall Street, Silicon Valley, big agriculture, and other industries. So they don't want to do it. even if they wanted to do it, they are not competent enough to achieve it. So in order to satisfy the base and keep the base happy, they are creating this perception, substituting cruelty and attitude and style for substance and results in order to feed the base and get the base thinking that they're doing something. In the process, they are antagonizing and provoking the left. And what this does is, in a word, it activates the left. The left accepts the challenge and they rally behind the issue. And the left, which was disorganized and demoralized and despairing, they are now resurgent. And now they have consolidated and they found their issue. And now in LA, they're rioting. And the riots aren't a good look, but they forced Trump to back down. And in Chicago, they're fighting ICE agents and they're rioting outside the detention facility. And there are terrorist attacks happening against ICE in Portland and Texas. And slowly but surely, there is this communist DSA. They're being funded by the far left. Their signs, their posters, the meetups they're organizing on Facebook, they're getting together. And not only that, but they're getting more and more violent because they see that ICE is kind of a joke. They see what they're able to get away with. They see how if they just show up, they're able to overwhelm ICE. They're chasing them through the streets, blowing their whistles, surrounding ICE agents, ICE leadership. And I told you last year, I said, you have to do one of two things. Either you don't even attempt this and you just let the sleeping dogs lie, or if you want to fight the left, you need to crush them and overwhelm them. You have to make it known that if they try to resist, they will be destroyed. Otherwise, you are feeding this tit-for-tat cycle of escalation. You go to a city and make some arrests, so they box in an ICE agent. You send in the National Guard to beat those people up. They send in an army of protesters to push back the National Guard. You're just giving it oxygen to breathe. You're giving them the optimism and the hope that they can actually defeat ICE and overcome ICE. That ICE is not actually going to win the game of chicken. So then that brings us to Minneapolis. And I told you last year, inevitably, you're going to get this brutal confrontation, and here it is. In Minneapolis, it starts to get really contentious and really ugly. And people are turning against ICE. They're turning against the policy. People are seeing the chaos in the streets, and they want it to stop. Now, even before the new year, even before 2026, the polling started to turn against ICE and the immigration enforcement policy. And there was already some second guessing inside the administration into the first week of January. I told you there was a report out in Axios in the first week of January that said that Trump and his team were having second thoughts. They wanted to change the strategy. They wanted to recalibrate. They think it's becoming unpopular. Republicans are pushing back because they're worried about the midterms. Again, this is how this year started. Then Renee Good got shot. Renee Good gets shot. Alex Preddy gets shot. What happens in the aftermath of these shootings? It is just a cascading series of concessions, death by 1,000 cuts. Trump gets up in a press conference and says, we're only deporting criminal illegals, not these poor people that have been here for 20 years working hard. Tom Homan goes into the city and he says, we've been making all these mistakes. We have all these problems. Bovino gets pulled out of the city. It's the first scalp for the left. They hated this guy. He was the face of enforcement. And the Trump administration pulled the rug out from under him. They ordered him to leave the city. And they sent in Tom Homan to do cleanup crew. Then Tom Homan gets up at a press conference and is undercutting his own squad. He's telling everybody that ICE made a lot of mistakes and they don't always get it right. And we're going to discipline everybody that didn't get it right and all this kind of stuff. He starts talking about a drawdown. He says, we're going to draw down the number of ICE agents in the city. And if they would just cooperate, then we'll leave. Then Kristi Noem last week said, we're going to get everybody to wear body cameras, first in Minnesota, then everywhere else. Stephen Miller starts playing the blame game. He said, I only called Alex Preddy a terrorist because that's what DHS said. And I told Kristi Noem that we need to change the rules of engagement, and she didn't listen. This is how it goes. And now, at long last, we have this series of developments today. Trump says in an interview a few things which are really interesting. He says that those protesters shouldn't have died. He says we need a softer touch. He says we're only going after the criminals, not the regular illegals anymore. And Tom Homan says we're withdrawing 700 people and we're going to withdraw even more. And he says basically our operation was flawed. This is a complete and total capitulation. And it's not hard to see why this is a problem. If you want to deport 1 million people per year, which is what you would need to do to get anything resembling a mass deportation, you need actually to increase the presence of law enforcement, not decrease. You want to deport 1 million people per year? You need to double, triple, quadruple the number of people that you're arresting and deporting. So that means you're going to need more ICE agents.
Right.
It's going to need to be more visible, more provocative.
More aggressive.
Talk about, they're saying we need targeted enforcement. No, you're going to need to sweep neighborhoods. You're going to need patrols. You're going to need to do more Minneapolis-style operations if you want to get a mass deportation. So if they come out and they say, well, we're withdrawing, well, that indicates first and foremost, they will be deporting fewer people, not more. But it's also a surrender. You tried to do this policy in Minneapolis. The left fought back. They tried to kill your people, and they died in the process. And now you undercut your own law enforcement operatives by throwing them under the bus. Trump says
and
that
don't even finish
Bovino
the
is an
fucking mission.
out-there guy. He's too tough, saying we need to be softer. Softer? You're staring down an angry mob, and you're on TV saying we need to be softer? This is not the Trump that I know. This is not the Trump from the election who's all fire-breathing and intensity. Trump says in the face of this mob trying to get him to back down, he says we need to be soft. And Bovino is out there and he needs to relax. They throw their own guys under the bus saying we're not perfect and this is a mistake that these people were killed. You send your commander out of the city. You reduce the troop size by 1/3. And in the end, they changed the policy. We had a statement from Border Patrol, according to Nick Sorter. 2 Border Patrol agents confirmed they're no longer doing patrols. They're now only doing precise, targeted enforcement. Meaning they're not going to be driving around the city looking for illegals. They're going to be looking and working with the police for the criminals and only arresting those people. Which necessarily is going to mean far fewer arrests because there are far fewer criminal illegals than illegals. You could deport all the criminals and you're still going to have millions and millions and millions of illegals.
Right.
So that's a much smaller group and it's a much more narrow net to cast. It can't possibly go up. It can't even possibly stay the same. It's necessarily going to go down. And the number of arrests and the presence of law enforcement and the strength of the tactics, it's all decreasing after the left forced their hand. The left vetoed the policy. Trump tried, Bovino tried, Homan tried, Stephen Miller tried, and the left came in and they shut it down. They vetoed it. They created so much pain and so much unpleasantness. They created such a controversy that they made it impossible for the administration to continue. All the media coverage that was generated, all the outrage, and now Trump was forced to back down.
But guys, think of this, think of all the Muslims in Dearborn, right? We're about to go to war with Iran. Think about this. And this is, we're done with this video because mass deportations isn't like a big topic that's hard to grasp unless you're fucking retarded. But think about this, guys. The left doesn't like ICE. The right isn't enforcing ICE. The left doesn't like war. The right doesn't mind going to war. We're about to go to war with Iran. Who is pushing war with Iran? The right. When war with Iran happens, where are the refugees going to be flooding into? Here. When they flood here and disrupt the economy or disrupt the country or disrupt the neighborhood or do whatever, when they flood here, who's going to be complaining about them? The right. When we send ICE to them, who's going to be complaining about ICE? The left. It's like a fucking... And who's going to stop ICE? The left. So they're going to send us to war. They're going to fuck up the economy in Iran. We're going to get a lot of refugees. They're going to immigrate over here. We're not going to be able to kick them out because the left doesn't want us to. And we're going to go to war with Iran because the right want us to. So it's like, I'm telling you guys, it's birds of a feather, bro. Birds of a feather flock together. So I wish that it mattered which side you was on, but it really doesn't. It really does not matter what side you're on because they are both Israel bound. Immigration, liberal immigration, let everybody in, be free, Jewish. Let's attack Iran, regime change, Israel. It's pretty. They're like tandem. It's like we're fighting fucking Israel every time. Holy fuck. It's like we're always fighting Israel. That's a mogul in training. Kim is just there for the vibes now. That shit is horrible. That's what happens. This is what happens when your mom is rather be a bop and look cool than be a mom. This is what happens when your mom rather be a bop and look cool than actually be a mother. Which is why whores are not allowed to have children. If you guys did not know, Anya has made that statement plenty of times. Whores do not get the acceptance of having children. They are banned from having children. Yeah, of course there's some monkeys fighting. Yo, something wrong with this nigga, bro. Kai Cenat's best friend Daz got on live last night saying Kai is a fake friend and he stopped paying his $20,000 monthly allowance after his DMs got leaked. She was on me first, but since you're not paying me no more, I'm crashing out. Next time I see you, mark my words. See what happens as soon as you stop paying niggas, they ready to crash out on you. Like,
so my dad evaluated the dog was retarded. They told me, they said, nah. They say, oh, evaluate your son. He got a mental issue. He got loose screws. Miss Kleberg sucked my dick. Mr. Jones sucked my dick.
And these are the niggas y'all giving money to. These are the fucking dumbass monkeys you give money to, and you subscribe to, and you follow and like, and I don't know what's wrong with you. I don't know. I doubt anybody listens to this, but because he's genuinely to me looks retarded, and he's talking like he is. But these are the guys that y'all fucking like.
I'll fuck your wife and your kids. One of them, I swear to God, that's how I'm giving it up. All for life. Yo, Ramel Lewis, you owe me your chop cheese from going to the store at high school. You owe, broke ass nigga. It's only $5.75, loggy. No cap. I swear to God, everybody was my teacher in high school. Suck my dick. Yo, my mother.
Well, he didn't say anything about Kai in that, so that was good clickbait, Tommy. But yeah, you're not supposed to be going off like this. But this is what happens when you're a simp. You see what I'm saying? Now you gotta start spurging out, start crashing out because bitches exposing you because you acting like a little bitch in the DMs. So it happens. Stop being simps, bro. You're so epic. Like, that was so gay. Oh my God. Yes.
Usually will sit right at the bottom.
Fans are concerned after Pokimane suddenly began screaming while explaining why she's still single and claims no man deserves her.
Usually will sit right at the bottom there. You gave great advice on Chad Vibes. Thank you. Did you like the new Stranger Things? Girl, I haven't watched Stranger Things in like 4 years. Like a minute. Making me miss DTA. I miss DTA too. Ah! Sorry. Ah! Sorry. Can I say something? Usually
Well, we didn't hear that claim, but okay, you know, bitches are crazy. This is called delusional.
How many times a week do you think I work out if I do work out?
0.
Or you can say you don't think I work out at all.
I don't think you.
Great.
I don't think you work.
I have a personal trainer. I go to the gym 5 times a week. I can bench and lift and do all the fun things up to 200, 220
Just
pounds.
curious, when did you start? Like, when did you
I've been working out my whole life. And so
No, okay, guys. Here's the catch-22 to this. If you work out, you're burning calories. So unless you're literally eating, like when I mean eating, like you would have to be eating so much, like you would have to be eating while you're working out at this point, like to be gaining weight. Like you would literally have to be eating to after you, especially she said she works 5 times a week. You would literally have to be eating to work out. Like while you're working out to gain weight. Like there's no way you're gonna be working out and gaining weight at the same time. Like it's especially if you're working out 5 times a week, there's no way you're not really working out then. If you're gaining weight and you're working out 5 times a week, you're not working out. I promise you the shit you're doing is not working out. So yeah, she's definitely delusional. I don't have to watch the rest of this fucking funky ass. Look at his arms. Yeah, you work out all right, bitch. We see the cellulite. Like, come on, bro. We don't even see like some mad like muscle or something, like some like you look big as hell. Like, but nah. That was it. I just wanted to do some fun shit for the end because mass deportations is kind of boring because we don't like. It's kind of like obvious they don't fuck with us. But I thought he was gonna talk about something else. Forgot what he said he was gonna talk about. But yeah, nothing too crazy today. Appreciate everybody for stopping by. Look at CP with the new follow. Nothing too crazy. I'm trying to think. Monday we definitely will be live Monday. And I have to type in a password. I hate that I have to do that. But yeah, we'll definitely be live Monday. Now I can't think of what is supposed to be coming out Monday. But yeah, we'll definitely be live. We'll probably do the uncensored on Monday, like finish the uncensored with Myron. And yeah, that's nothing too crazy. But yeah, appreciate everybody for stopping by. Shout out to CP with the follow. And I will see y'all boys on Monday.
I don't know.
Peace.
The bitch shaking it, showing it. You this, you that. We laughing at them together. Oh! So stop treating these like they mean something.